did everything right. You trusted God, even when it hurt. And still, silence. Why is heaven so quiet when your heart feels so ready? And somewhere in your heart, there's a quiet hope, a dream you carry with trembling hands. You truly believe you're ready, but nothing's happening. The relationship you hoped for hasn't come. The calling you feel in your bones still sits in silence. The breakthrough, the job, the healing, it all feels overdue. And in the quiet, it's easy to whisper, "Lord, what are you doing in this delay?" There's a kind of ache only the waiting heart understands. Not because you're impatient, but because you feel prepared. And that ache, it's holy. It's the ache of hope and dreams taking root in unseen soil. It's what Joseph must have felt in that prison cell. He'd been faithful. He honored God when no one saw. He interpreted dreams with wisdom from heaven. But after helping Pharaoh's cupbearer, all he asked was, "Remember me." And still, silence. Days turned to years, not because Joseph wasn't ready, but because God was doing something deeper through the delay. Genesis 41 tells us that it was 2 full years later before Pharaoh had a dream that would change everything. And in that moment, Joseph was summoned, promoted, and positioned to save a nation. If God had opened the door any earlier, Egypt wouldn't have been ready for him. Sometimes hope and dreams are placed on pause, not because they're wrong, but because the world you're being sent into is still being prepared. Or think about Sarah. Decades passed with no child. She laughed when the promise came, not from mockery, but from weariness. She'd carried hope too long, and still the womb was closed, but God had not forgotten. Romans 4:20 tells us Abraham did not waver through unbelief, but was fully persuaded that God had power to do what he had promised. Isaac came, not at the moment they desired, but at the moment heaven had marked. And through that child, the lineage of Christ himself would one day come. So what if what feels delayed is actually being divinely timed? We don't like waiting, but God isn't rushed. He's never early, never late. And still, that truth doesn't always feel comforting at 2 a.m. when your chest aches and your eyes are tired of searching. So let me remind you gently, delay is not denial, hiddenness is not punishment, and silence is not absence. Even Jesus, the Son of God, waited. He didn't begin his public ministry until he was 30. He waited in the quiet, in the carpenter's shop, in the unnoticed years. While others were seen, he sanded wood. While others preached, he listened to his mother's voice. He lived 30 years of obedience for 3 years of ministry. And when the moment came, the heavens opened. The Father said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Matthew 3:17. Notice how that affirmation came before Jesus did any miracles, before the crowd, before the cross. Because readiness in heaven isn't measured by accomplishments, but by surrender. And maybe, friend, God sees that you're ready on the outside, but he's still shaping something sacred on the inside. You don't need to earn his timing, but you do need to trust it. Sometimes God waits until the dream no longer defines you, until hope and dreams no longer control your joy, but quietly anchor your faith, until your identity isn't wrapped in the blessing, but in the blesser, until you no longer need the answer to prove he's good. You just know he is. Sometimes God delays the dream so that when it comes, it no longer replaces him. That's when delay becomes holy. It's when maturity deepens, when the roots stretch down unseen, holding your soul steady for the weight of what's ahead. And yes, I know it's hard. You see others stepping into what you prayed for. You watch doors open for people who didn't even ask, and it's easy to wonder, what's wrong with me? But there is nothing wrong with you. There's just something sacred happening in you. Isaiah 60:22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." Not when you feel ready, not when you've waited long enough. When the time is right, and only God knows when that is. So if you're in the in-between, the place of almost but not yet, let this be your quiet reminder. God sees you. He's not ignoring you. He's preparing you. And when the time is right, it won't just be a door opening, it'll be a calling fulfilled. Not because you pushed, but because you trusted. Not because you performed, but because you waited. And not because you were always strong, but because even in weakness, you stayed. So keep showing up. Keep praying, even if it feels dry. Keep walking, even if the path is dim. You are not forgotten. Your hope and dreams are not lost. They're growing underground, where the soil is deep and heaven is still at work. God delays what you're ready for, because He's preparing what you can't yet see. And when it comes, you'll look back and realize the delay was never wasted. It was the soil beneath the seed, where roots went deep before anything bloomed. Comment, "I'm still waiting," if this was for you. Someone else may need to know they're not waiting alone.